Marketer of the Day, number 417. Influencer Marketing. Promote your brand on Snapchat, YouTube, and Amazon with Yogin Patel. Hey everyone, and thanks for listening. We're talking right now with Yogin Patel, and Yogin is the CEO and founder of YP Social, and he's here to talk about this thing called the Amazon Influencer Program. So Yogin is a 21-year-old millennial, which means that he's dialed into the social media stuff, and he's going to be talking about this concept called influencer marketing. So Yogin, how are things today?
Things are going well, man. Thanks for having me on.
Glad to have you on, and I'm glad that we're about to have some fun here. And so I kind of have to admit a little bit, I'm kind of one of those old farts. I just turned 33 a few days ago, so I'm not quite tapped into this whole thing of like, I barely use Instagram. I use it to post some cat photos, but I sometimes see like these, YouTubers with huge presence, these Instagrammers with huge presence. They'll just, review a product or they'll show something, and then a bunch of people will buy it based on their recommendation. They'll make a bunch of sales. Everybody makes money. So I've seen like a little bit of it, but I'm sure that you can kind of take us, tell us the big picture and tell us like what the start to finish is. So can you kind of like assume that I pretty much know nothing about this and tell us what this whole influence or marketer thing is?
Yeah, so basically influencer marketing is generally, you have a large influencer that has anywhere from 10 to 100,000 followers, and you have a brand that is not getting the ROI that, it's supposed to be getting on traditional advertising, on TV, on just newspapers, billboards and stuff. And so these brands are looking for different ways, and they're seeing all the attention is on social media on a mobile device. And these brands are basically paying these influencers that have a large following, even influencers that have, 1,000 to 5,000 followers. They're paying them, a couple hundred to a couple $100,000 per Instagram post. Even, YouTube posts, Twitter posts, pretty much any social network that you can amass a following. Brands are paying big dollars just to get their brand out, get their product out. And you'll even see it with big movie launches, big movie releases. Production companies are paying influencers just to shout their movies out. They're coming, and so it's everyone's kind of just trying to take a piece in this influencer marketing world that's been developed over the last 10 years.
Super cool. And yeah, so I when I watch YouTube and things like that, I'll sometimes see these people with like huge following and kind of follow them from the beginning and see them grow and grow. And I want to say maybe 5-6 years ago I started seeing some of these YouTubers, like you said, when a movie would start to come out, just some everyday person, or so I thought, was now kind of sitting down with like some actor of the movie, or they'd be doing some kind of product placement. And at first I was thinking like, oh, well, they're kind of starting to sell out, or they do like a Patreon, they do like some kind of fundraiser. And it seems like a lot of these YouTubers, maybe they have no other choice but to do some of this influencer marketing stuff because the YouTube ads are letting them down and not really paying out as much these days.
Exactly. Traditionally, so back in the early days of YouTube, the payout was a lot higher. I don't know exactly, but I'll give you an estimation of what it is now. Approximately, if you're averaging 1 million views per YouTube video, you can get about $1,000 to $2,000 with the ads. And back in the day, I think it was like maybe double or triple that. And so now with YouTube just being so big as it is, and maybe getting a little market saturation, that payout's a lot less. So these influencers are looking for brand deals, and that's what the big term is in the market field. So. And you have big influencer platforms coming out. I think Google just bought this product called FameBit. It's basically a platform where, you as a brand can go on and find influencers. You create your own campaign and influencers bid for your project. So there's a lot of different things coming out in the marketplace just to, kind of enable these influencers to make more money than they are used to getting paid by just traditional YouTube ads. Because if you're averaging about 100,000 views, with ads, it's really not paying that much, maybe a couple $100. So, but yeah.
Awesome, and it sounds like I mean, there's always that risk, right? With any kind of like internet stuff, there's always that risk of whatever platform just changing the rules out from under people, and so always a good idea to look out there and find other ways of making money. And so you mentioned, or we both mentioned as we started off here, that you're only 21 years old. So I mean, when the heck did you start at all this, and how long have you been at it?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been at like just the entrepreneurship world for the last like 5 years, 5 to 6 years, and really tapped into social media about 2 years ago. This is kind of when Snapchat was really taking off, and Snapchat geofilters were a thing. I'm not sure if you're familiar too much with Snapchat, but
No, I used it a couple of times, but I couldn't even understand it.
yeah, yeah. So Snapchat's basically a platform really designed for millennials to send photos just for like 10 seconds. So basically, you receive a photo, and it's usually the person that's sending it puts a limit on it for anywhere from 1 to 10 seconds. And so it's really just idea to kind of get people to express themselves on a day to day, and not really just for a permanent aspect. And so, but Snapchat gained a huge follow. Like I think their total user base was over like 100 to 300 million in the last year. So they really gained a huge following, and they were trying to make some money because they weren't really producing any profits on their app. And so they launched this thing called Geofilters. And Geofilters is basically a little bit of augmented reality, but when you're in a particular area, you'll see a specific geofilter with, a branded either logo. Like let's say if you go into a Hilton, you'll in your check-in, and then you're just taking a Snapchat. If you swipe right a few times, you might see a Hilton logo pop up with a specifically designed slogan and designed for that area. Like if you're in Phoenix, Arizona, you might have some cactuses, just like whatever the design is. And so when this thing came out, everyone was getting excited, and the biggest invention for Snapchat was these birthday geofilters, and kids were getting so excited. Like if you had a birthday party and someone made you a birthday geofilter, everyone was going nuts because Snapchat was a thing. And what I did with my partner was we basically took geofilters and we introduced it to large businesses and large nightclubs, large DJs. And we basically told them, hey, we will have a geofilter running at your, venue or at your hotel, at your restaurant. And kids and millennials will just walk in, and most likely at least, 10 to 20% of them will probably use it. And that was usually the ratio that we got. And one of our first filters that we launched got over 1.5 million views. And so as a brand, they were really excited. And so since then, brands were really excited about the exposure, but it wasn't really translating into direct ROI because geofilters don't let brands, have a direct link. So you can't really swipe up or click on anything to go to your brand site or your product site. And so, we launched a geofilter over a big concert one day, and the brand was being promoted through the geofilter, but we didn't see any ROI. But the only thing we could tell the brand was, hey, big celebrities like Chris Brown's girlfriend or, Ariana Grande are using your filter, and that's why we got such a big view count. So they were excited about that, but they just weren't excited about getting zero ROI. And so it doesn't really justify for them spending thousands of dollars on a geofilter if they're not making ROI. And that's when we thought, okay, well, what if we got Ariana Grande or Justin Bieber or a celebrity to actually endorse their product or, talk about their product on social media? Then that would really translate into an ROI because we'd have the celebrity even place a link. And that's kind of how we got started. We reached out to a couple big YouTubers, and they put us in touch with their managers out in Los Angeles. I mean, those managers put us in touch with some of the biggest Hollywood talent agencies, like CAA, WME. And these are agencies that are representing, people like Angelina Jolie or Brad Pitt and Ariana Grande. And so, For us, we have all these clients that we had reached out to over the years, and now we just have to tell them, hey, we have direct relations with these influencers, and if you guys want to advertise your product, we can happily do that. We can construct a campaign, and so yeah, and that's really just how kind of the ball started rolling, and now we work with some of the biggest mobile app developers in the world.
Super cool. So it sounds like you just kind of like slowly worked your way up to bigger and bigger people. And I imagine that along the way there must have been like some kind of resistance, right? Like I imagine that like trying first of all like trying to like explain this concept, or even like getting even some people to listen to you, or like getting some of these doors open was tough. So I mean, how did you do it? Was it just a matter of like making as many contacts as possible and getting through the no's, or was it like you had some small results with some clients and worked your way up to bigger clients? Like how did you get to talking to the people that you needed to talk to?
Yeah, so I mean, biggest thing is with the advent of email, and especially a lot of people not using it as often, we were sending out hundreds of emails a day just to like a target market that we had selected, and this target market was basically restaurants and businesses around college towns. So this was mainly for selling them geofilters, because we realized, in these areas around college towns, that's where all the millennials are going, and that's where they're going to use the geofilters. Um, yeah, you said it right. We faced a lot of resistance because Snapchat was such a new thing, and we had to really we had to show them how they can get an ROI, or show them why this is even meaningful. And so we got a ton of no's. We were in touch with big marketing teams from, big donut franchises that have over 100 locations, but, their marketing execs are, in their late 60s. And so they don't really see the whole Snapchat. They don't, they're like, well, we have, our target audience being, 20 to 34, but we don't see Snapchat as being the right fit, so there was a lot of resistance just from marketing teams not wanting to spend money on even trying something out. And so that was a hard part, but we did see a lot of owners of businesses that were like, all right, I really love the Snapchat thing. My daughter uses Snapchat. How can I get involved? And once we kind of talked to those people that, had heard about it a little bit, but just weren't sure on how it could result in an ROI, that's, when we kind of got in the door, and that's when we started showing them the results, and now they're some of our long-term clients. And now with influencer marketing, it's the same thing. Basically, a lot of brands so we reached out to a lot of brands. We've reached out to their direct user acquisition managers, their marketing managers, and they weren't spending the money on influencer marketing yet. And so we had to send them, pitch decks, or they wanted to see previous results of previous case studies. And so originally it was very tough until we got a few yeses. And once those yeses turned into really good results, we created case studies. And, after that, it was just a matter of sending emails and then pitching and just asking them, hey, can we just send you a case study of what we've done for a similar client in your field, and the results we've brought them. And so, once people saw that, once we got on a phone call, video call, a lot of brands were open to it, because everyone's hearing about influencers. They're just not sure on how to go about it. A lot of brands just don't know, in the whole world of influencers, where to first get started. And so we were kind of like the first agencies to kind of get a lot of these international companies involved.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine if you guys are the pioneers here, it's like hard to get people convinced of this. But then once you have those case studies, you can say, well, here's this client, and then we hook them up with this influencer, and then here are the numbers. Hard to argue with that.
Exactly. I mean, so numbers were the biggest thing for us. Is the ROI. Every brand is looking for an ROI, and so it was our job to really show that. And once we started getting the ball rolling, we got a lot of great numbers, and from that, it was just a matter of just talking to them and having a conversation and saying, hey, if you spend this amount of budget, you can get this amount of downloads or this amount of ROI.
And then when you guys do that pitch to your clients, do you guys do that sort of research there? Like you say, like, okay, here's your brand, and then based on that, you say we can have this YouTuber or this Instagrammer promote you, and then here's what we think will happen.
Yeah, so we do a lot of research beforehand. We don't want to have an influencer promote a product if it's not really in their category, because influencers are willing to take any product if you have the right check, but it's a better campaign and integration if you have an influencer with a product in their niche. And so when we talk to brands, we only presented them with talent or influencers that have an audience similar to theirs or similar to their target market. And so we really have to, do a lot of research, talk to the influencers, talk to them and figure out what their audience demo is, what ages, what gender, what their interests are, just so we can create a really profitable and long-lasting campaign. Because otherwise, it's just you're just throwing dollars up in the air and seeing if it will work and their followers will even pay attention to it.
Right. And so with all this like YP social stuff, what was interesting is, when I was looking at it, I guess you guys specialize in mobile games, which I think is pretty cool, because usually, at least for me, as sort of a bystander, I guess, when I think about or I hear about influencer marketing, what I think is like usually like a makeup tutorial or like an iPhone case or something like that. But I hadn't even considered that, like, you have some high profile person promote a mobile game. So you focus on mobile games. Anything else, sort of any like interesting offers like that the rest of us normally wouldn't think of when we hear influencer marketing?
Yeah. Well, mobile games are really interesting because if you talk to a traditional mobile developer, you'll find out that their marketing channels are primarily in the ad networks or or Google ads, Facebook ads. Most of them aren't really tapping into influencers, and so for us to even bring them this idea of, hey, if you work with this high level talent, you can expect this many downloads. They were really excited about it because they thought they were like pretty much using up all their channels and there was nothing else available. And so this was kind of an opportunity for them. But yeah, I mean, as far as different categories, nothing really comes to mind that's really, really unique. I mean, there's just so many different brands that are using it. Like I said, like movies, products in general. Like obviously you're probably seeing a lot of supplement companies on Instagram using it. The fit teas, all the random teas that people are promoting. It's just there's just so many different things that there's just a huge market of it. And so nothing particularly unique other than just different categories. I'm sure some B2B companies are trying to tap into it as well, especially with some of these entrepreneur influencers that are out there. So I would say, honestly, like any category, if your business could probably use influencer marketing, you just have to find the right influencer with your market audience. I don't think there's any limitations or restrictions. Maybe if you're industrial and you're selling manufacturing equipment and all that, but even then, I'm sure you'd be able to do something with it.
Get like Bob Vila or someone like that on there, right?
Yeah.
And what's funny is the way that you're describing this is the more I hear about it, the more it sounds like celebrity endorsement and all that cheesy stuff from the 1980s. But that was TV, that was famous actors, and now it's a way larger market space, because now it's well, there's all these different channels like YouTube and Instagram, and then all these people who are lesser celebrities, but a celebrity within their own kind of inner circle there. So it's taking this old kind of outdated concept and that we'd almost forgotten about, and also the product placement part of it, like in movies and stuff like that, used to be just in movies and TV shows, but now updating it for the new era and all that cool stuff. And then, so one thing that I kind of want to switch gears here a little bit about is that I guess there's a new thing called the Amazon Influencer Program that you guys are getting into. So can you explain what that's all about?
Yeah, so Amazon basically released this program for influencers because they want to tap into that world as well. And basically, it's just an extension of Amazon Associates. So I'm sure you're familiar with that because that's just an affiliate model for Amazon. But what this does is it gives influencers a special vanity URL and allows them to basically while they're talking to their followers or whoever, say, hey, go to my shop on Amazon, and whatever the shop name is would probably be in their URL. And so, followers can go into their shop and see all the product recommendations that this influencer is making. And why this is so amazing for the influencers because, well, there's a lot of influencers that aren't getting, large brand deals or brand deals on a frequent basis. And so if you have something like this, which is kind of like your own shop and you're not really selling anything else, you haven't created your own makeup line, you created your own t-shirts or whatever, then you can sell other people's products through Amazon's store that they created for you. And you just have to put in your products that you like. And your followers probably just go in there and be like, oh, wow, like this person likes, this type of coffee. I'll purchase that. And so it just really gives influencers more power to, make more money and, just have, product recommendations that they truly believe in. So, yeah.
Cool. So it's like so that influencer, they can either send someone to an exact product or just say, here's my store, you pick and choose what you like.
Exactly. So, they can put their vanity URL in their Instagram bio, their YouTube description, or they can just, directly tell them over Snapchat, like, hey guys, like if, for example, if this was Superwoman, just be like, hey guys, go check out my store on Amazon for Superwoman. Or something like that, just like whatever the influencer's name is, they would probably put that in the vanity URL. And so it just makes it easier compared to Amazon Associates, which kind of gives you this random jumbo of letters, for your, personal affiliate code or whatever. So this makes it very, enables the influencers to directly market their store, and especially if they don't have anything else they're endorsing, it gives them an opportunity to make more money.
Great. So with this influencer marketing stuff in general, like, you mentioned at the beginning here that a lot of it was based on, like Snapchat filters, Geofilters, things like that. And so the way that you were describing it kind of sounded to me like this influencer marketing mostly appealed to millennials. And is that still true? Like, are most of the buying market for this millennials, or are there other people in there as well?
Yeah, so basically when I was explaining like the whole Snapchat story, I was just explaining it for myself. A lot of companies, like big brands, are already spending large dollars on influencer marketing. For me as a young millennial, I kind of just hopped onto this market because I wasn't tuned in. I was familiar with all these brands paying thousands of dollars for Instagram posts, but I just wasn't sure how they were doing it. And I kind of just learned by just going through their process. But what you were saying regarding, what was your exact question again?
Well, my question is, are most of the buyers from influencer marketing millennials, or are other age groups like equal, or millennials like the majority, or what's the deal with like the ratios, I guess?
Oh, yeah. So definitely not all millennials. Yeah, you have like probably about a 50 to maybe 60% millennial group, mainly because millennials kind of were brought up with social media as being a part of their norm. But with Facebook now having a larger baby boomer audience, and even Instagram, like at the point that it is now, it has so many other people in different age groups. So, for example, I ran a campaign for a mobile game that was, about like snipers and, just like shooting and stuff, right? So their target market was ages 34 and up. And so for me, I had to find influencers that had a market or had an age group like that. And so, what we did was we found veterans that had large followings, and they were talking about just like military stuff, guns, etc. And, they had large audiences that were watching that. And so, because, they had like, I think they had over like 600,000 people, and we found like almost 10 different influencers. So there is a big, other than millennial population on these social media networks. You also have like the moms that are on YouTube that aren't really, they're stay-at-home moms that are just promoting videos, and so the followers that are watching them are also other moms or other people that are at that stage in their lives, and so you have a variety of influencers, you have a variety of people watching them. And that, I think, honestly, now it's just becoming such a big norm. It's kind of almost slowly replacing television, because, you talk to a kid right now and they'll be like, yeah, I barely watch TV, but I watch that kid named Jake Paul on YouTube, and so it's honestly really crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like it's becoming a lot more peer to peer, a lot more democratized. So that's great. So it's not just for millennials, like you said. It's a matter of finding the right match. So if it's like if this influencer appeals to this age group and that the offer appeals to that age group, then there you go. It's a good fit.
Exactly. And so you can pretty much find an influencer for any category. There might be lower amounts, obviously, but I'm sure you'd be able to find someone.
Great, yeah, and when you were explaining about the whole thing with like the veteran promoting the game, I just now had a total brain fart and remembered. I think I saw like there was some war game with tanks that Arnold Schwarzenegger was promoting in some ads I saw once, and that's kind of like
Yeah.
a huge example. He's a huge name, but I imagine that Arnold Schwarzenegger is the type that appeals more to the older generation.
Exactly. I actually talked about that recently. The game was Mobile Strike, and that was such a strategic partnership for that game's brand because Arnold's got this whole Terminator audience, and it's just their target market was probably 25 and up males, and so it made perfect sense for them. And for Arnold, I don't think it was a matter of how much money he was getting paid. He probably was like, all right, this is a really fun product, and it fits right up my alley with my audience, so I'm going to push it. And so I think honestly that was probably a really great strategic partnership, and for the company I checked, it did wonders for their brand and for the ROI from that. So, and I think they launched that commercial during the Super Bowl last year. So
Fantastic. So they just had everything going for them. Super Bowl, Arnold. What else do you need, right?
yeah, I mean, they were one of the biggest games, I think, of 20, actually, of all, like in the last 5 years, one of the biggest games, probably over 100, 200 million in revenue.
Well, cool. So, what kind of things do you see happening in the future with influencer marketing? Like, clearly, it's here to stay, and it's only gonna get bigger and bigger and edge out, TV and on some of the other stuff. But I mean, do you see anything coming up soon with this sort of stuff?
Yeah, so, influencer marketing is definitely at its early stages. It's not at its earliest point where it was like really great for a brand to get on and get all these negotiable rates, but it's still growing and it's becoming one of those things. Right now, the Instagram market is about $1 billion in influencer marketing, and they're expecting the total influencer marketing world to grow to about 10 billion in the next 5 years. And so we're going to see a lot of brands, start pushing their products onto it. We're probably going to see less brands using television, less brands using traditional outlets. And I think what's going to happen is a lot of brands that are in the same categories, like a lot of these big conglomerates, are probably going to be competing for attention. And so what that's going to do to influencers is make them more innovative in how they promote these products, because once influencers get to a point where every video or every post is basically an integration or product placement, they're going to lose a bunch of followers. And so they're really going to have to think of ways to keep that loyalty, engage their followers, and still make some money by doing endorsements. And so you're going to see more strategic partnerships, and you're probably going to see like a lot of influencers trying to get into the marketplace again. You know, you're seeing kids come out of high school or even like elementary school, like jumping onto YouTube promoting videos. You're going to see more influencers. So yeah, it's just, and I think it's going to become a better place for advertisers and marketers. There's going to be a lot more tools available, a lot more companies that are developing tools, you know, like FameBit or a couple other influencer marketplaces. And so, yeah, there's just going to be a lot more tools in the area.
Super great. So it'll become more crowded, more competitive, but it'll also become more civilized, and people will have to find new creative ways to not get left behind.
Exactly.
Well, great. So what's your website? Is it ypsocial.co?
Exactly. ypsocial.co. And if you shoot me an email on there, you know, I can, you know, answer any questions you guys might have about influencer marketing in general. So.
Okay, great. And who exactly should be reaching out to you? Like, I mean, like, it sounds like if someone has a brand they want to promote, and also if they're an influencer, are those the two types of people that should be contacting you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm even open to any type of general inquiries about, you know, marketing or influencer marketing. If you have those general inquiries, you can probably reach me on my Twitter at the Yogin Patel. Or, I mean, you can send me an email at yogin@ypsocial.co. And the type of people for YP Social we're looking at right now are mainly just brands that are interested in getting into influencer marketing. You know, if you're an influencer that, you know, is looking for more strategic partnerships with brands, we have a pretty wide roster of brands that we work with. And so, yeah, either or. But yeah, so if you have a general inquiries, just, you know, reach me on my Twitter at the Yogin Patel. So.
Great stuff. So make sure everyone do that. If you have a brand, or if you just have any of these general inquiries for any reason whatsoever, just reach out and see what Yogin has to respond to you. So find him on Twitter at the Yogin Patel. Email him at yogin@ypsocial.co, and then the website itself is ypsocial.co. So great stuff. And you know, whenever these trends are kind of coming, I think it's really important for people to jump on them, because it's really easy to wait a few years, and next thing you know, you miss the big wave that came. So really important to stay ahead of the curve, stay ahead of that competition. So if you've heard little whispers, little bits here and there about influencer marketing, well, that should be a sign that your brand or whatever you have going for you needs to jump on this influencer marketer thing before everyone else does. That way you can be one of the people that rides the waves up, as opposed to trying to catch up to everyone else who already got there before you. So don't wait. Do it right now. Go to ypsocial.co, email Yogin at yogin@ypsocial.co, and find him on Twitter at the Yogin Patel. So thanks, Mr. Yogin, for stopping by and enlightening us on this whole new world, especially in this day and age when I can't even remember the last time I saw a commercial on TV. Maybe it was at a friend's house or something, because I just like stream stuff. So things are changing more than ever before. So people need to get on this influencer marketing thing. So thanks for stopping by and sharing some of these great stories and this great advice for what people need to know. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks for having me on, man.
This is Robert Plank, and would you like to be a guest on the program? Do you have an idea for a future episode, or do you just want to tell us how we're doing? Get in touch with us right now at marketeroftheday.com/ask to let us know.